At first, it didn't seem like anything unusual. Another episode, another morning, another familiar exchange between two of daytime television's most recognizable faces. But something felt different. Viewers tuning in to Live with Kelly and Mark recently began noticing a subtle shift, not dramatic, not obvious, but present enough to spark curiosity. It wasn't in what was said, it was in how it was said. A pause, a glance, a small moment of hesitation, and suddenly fans began asking the same question. Why does Mark Consuelos still seem nervous around Kelly Ripa?
To understand this, you have to go back, way before the bright studio lights, before the live audience, before the morning routines. The story of Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos didn't begin on a talk show. It began decades ago. A real connection, a real relationship, a real partnership that has lasted through years of change, growth, and public attention. They've built a life together, family, careers, shared experiences. And yet, despite all that history, there's still something about being on that stage, in that moment beside Kelly, that makes Mark pause. Live television is different. There are no second takes, no edits, no going back. Everything unfolds in real time. And for someone like Mark, who spent years as an actor, working with scripts, rehearsals, and controlled environments, this shift isn't small, it's huge. Now he's not playing a character, he's just himself. And that can be more nerve-wracking than any role he's ever taken on. Because when you're being yourself, there's nothing to hide behind.
It didn't take long for viewers to pick up on it. Not in a critical way, but in a curious, almost emotional way. They noticed slight hesitation before speaking, a softer tone in certain moments, occasional nervous laughter, a quick glance toward Kelly before responding. These weren't signs of discomfort, they were signs of care, of awareness, of someone who understands the weight of the moment and the importance of getting it right. Here's something most people don't think about. Working with your partner, especially someone who knows you deeply, isn't always easy. In fact, it can make things more intense because there's no pretending, no filtering, no distance. Kelly Ripa doesn't just know Mark as a co-host, she knows him as a husband, as a father, as a person beyond the camera. And that level of familiarity can create a unique kind of pressure, not negative pressure, but meaningful pressure, the kind that makes you want to show up fully, to be present, to be right. What looks like nervousness might not actually be nervousness at all. It might be something deeper: respect, admiration, awareness of the space they share. Because when Mark steps onto that stage, he's not just hosting a show, he's stepping into Kelly's world, a space she's built over years with consistency and confidence, and that matters. It changes how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you react. The moment that sparked conversations. There was one recent moment in particular that caught viewers' attention. Nothing dramatic happened, no big reveal, no shocking statement, just a simple exchange. Kelly spoke, Mark paused. He smiled, slightly, almost thoughtfully, before responding, and in that brief pause, something felt real. Not scripted, not rehearsed, not performative, just human. And that's what made it powerful. Across the U.S., audiences are used to polished television. Perfect timing, perfect delivery, perfect moments. But this felt different. It felt authentic because people recognize that feeling, being a little nervous around someone you care about deeply, wanting to do well, wanting to say the right thing, wanting to show up in the best possible way. That's not weakness, that's connection. Mark Consuelos has spent years building his career as an actor. In that world, emotions are controlled, scenes are planned, Everything has structure, but hosting, especially live hosting, is unpredictable. And stepping into that space alongside someone as experienced as Kelly Ripa, that's not just a career move, it's a transformation, one that comes with learning curves, adjustments, and yes, moments of uncertainty. Behind every TV personality, there's a real person, with thoughts, with emotions, with moments of doubt. And sometimes those moments show up in the smallest ways. A pause, a breath, a glance. Not because something is wrong, but because something is real. There's actually a simple explanation for this kind of behavior. When someone is in a high-pressure environment, especially with someone they deeply respect, the brain becomes more alert, more focused, more aware. That awareness can look like nervousness, but it's really just heightened attention, a desire to be present, to engage fully, to not miss a moment. Here's what makes this story stand out. After all these years, after all the shared experiences, after everything they've built together, there's still a sense of freshness between them, still a sense of awareness, still a sense of emotional presence. And that's rare. That's not something you can fake. In the end, there was no big secret, no dramatic reveal, no headline-making moment that changed everything in an instant. Just something much quieter, something easier to miss, unless you were really paying attention. A man, standing beside someone he has known for years, someone he has built a life with, someone who understands him in ways the world never fully will. Mark Consuelos and Kelly Ripa are not just co-hosts sharing a stage on Live with Kelly and Mark. They are partners in the deepest sense of the word. And maybe that's exactly why these small, almost invisible moments feel so meaningful. Because when everything is stripped away, the lights, the cameras, the audience, what remains is something real. And real things aren't always perfect. In that space, right there on live television, Mark still feels something. Not fear, not uncertainty, but something softer, something more human, a little pressure to show up the right way. A little awareness of who he's standing next to. And yes, maybe even a little nervousness. But not the kind that comes from doubt, the kind that comes from caring. Because when you care deeply about the moment, about the person beside you, about how everything comes across, you don't just go through the motions. You pause. You think. You feel. And sometimes that feeling shows. Not loudly, not dramatically, but in the smallest ways. A brief hesitation, a thoughtful glance, a soft smile before speaking. Things most people wouldn't notice unless they were looking closely. And maybe that's why so many viewers are connecting with it, because it reflects something familiar, something people don't always talk about. The idea that even in long relationships, even after years of shared experiences, even when everything feels stable and known, there can still be moments of awareness, moments where you realize this person still matters, this connection still matters, and that realization carries weight, not a heavy weight, but a meaningful one, the kind that reminds you to stay present, to not take things for granted, to treat even ordinary moments like they matter, because they do. That's what this is really about. Not nerves, not pressure, not anything negative, but presence. A quiet kind of presence that says, I'm here, I care, this matters. And in a world where so much feels rushed, scripted, and polished, that kind of presence stands out. It feels different. It feels honest. It feels real. So no, there was no big secret revealed, no hidden truth suddenly uncovered, just a simple reminder that even the most familiar faces, even the strongest partnerships, even the most consistent routines can still hold emotion, can still carry meaning, can still create moments that make people stop
and feel something. And maybe that's why this moment stayed with viewers, not because it was loud, but because it was quiet, not because it was dramatic, but because it was genuine. And sometimes, those are the moments that matter the most.
And maybe that's why viewers can't look away. Because in a world full of perfectly scripted moments, this felt different. It felt human. It felt honest. It felt like a reminder that even the most familiar relationships can still carry emotion, still carry meaning, still carry moments that make you pause.